Well, welcome back to the Happy, Healthy Hustle, where we explore the intersection of health, happiness, and productivity. I'm your host, Christiane, and I'm super excited. I have a very special guest here with us today. It's actually Celena, and her business is called The Introvert's Heart. So before we really go into this, I'm going to read you real quick the podcast review of the week. The podcast review of the week comes actually from Elise Westphal, and she titles her review with Amazing Podcast. And the podcast review then reads, Best Podcast Ever, with 3 exclamation marks. And I saw this and I was immediately getting a big smile on my face, because it's always so great to hear from the listeners or the viewers how much they appreciate this. So thank you for keeping up those reviews. You can also review this show on Apple Podcast, Happy Healthy Hustle. Just scroll down past the show notes, go down, leave a star rating, preferably 5, leave some nice words, and I'm going to shout out to you as the podcast fan of the week. But with that, let's go to Celena, the Introvert's Heart. And why don't you introduce yourself? Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me, Christiane. My name is Celena McBride. I am the CEO, owner of the Introvert's Heart. And my company, I am a speaker, also an event planner. And what I do here is I just basically am working with people. You don't have to be an introvert, but that's a great place to start. For me, I am an introvert at heart. But I work with people who are just trying to find some more joy in their life, right? I think we all need to find more joy, more happiness. My goal is to make sure that people know there are options out there you can go find, and community and fellowship is so important. I just don't want people to isolate anymore, because that leads to anxiety, depression, all the isms that we end up falling into to try to cope with life. And I just encourage everybody to come out of our shells. We've become an introverted society to a fault. And right now we have to get that human connection back. I'm a very empathetic person, and our current world just makes me very sad, and I know that people are suffering in silence, and because I was, and we all are to a point and to a degree, and I just want people to know you're not alone. So that's kind of what motivated me to start the company. And very quickly, my thoughts became reality, that people have been coming to me and they are looking for friends. People headed to empty nest as well. So I'm just here to support and build a community for people who need support.
Good. And that's such an important position that you have. And it sounds like you kind of tapped into what I call on this show superpower. Celena, how would you describe your superpower?
My superpower is my empathy. For a long time, I hated that part about me, because I would feel for something like as small as a fork, like, oh, that's the only fork that's going to be left in the drawer. I feel so bad for it. But actually, now I see it's a superpower, because that's what's lost in the world. Our heart, our connection isn't there. And that's why we're all suffering and not happy. We're all kind of in the rat race, as they say. I call it like Groundhog Daying it over and over. You wake up, repeat. Where's the joy? Life is for living. And I'm out here to remind people that. So my empathy is my superpower.
I love what you say, the rat race. I actually personally sometimes feel it's like a dishwasher that has like these little lights that go up, like the pre-wash. And now we're doing the intense wash, and now comes the rinse cycle and the dry cycle. And sometimes you feel you're just going like through the little like cycles, and it's like every day is the same. And that's really what you shouldn't think about. You should more think about, all right, what along my dishwasher cycle actually gives me joy. Because once you start focusing on that, you start noticing there's a whole bunch of stuff that's actually good. It's just that sometimes we are like, so like those horses have, like this tunnel vision. We are so focused on just getting through to the next thing, as you said, at rat ways, that we don't even notice. I mean, literally speaking, we don't even notice the flowers that are maybe right and left, and we don't stop and smell those. So how did you come up to the superpower? Was there a challenge in your life that made you realize this is what I should be doing? What was the biggest challenge and why?
Unfortunately or fortunately, I knew my purpose was people here. But when that is your purpose, after a while, you do get to be like, well, who's thinking about me, And so it made me get through a period where I was kind of resentful. And I was like, I don't want my purpose to be people. People suck. And so I kind of went through it for a while, and I battled alcoholism, I battled drinking, depression, all these coping mechanisms to push down who I was. And my voice had been quieted over the years. I'm a middle child, so I had all those syndromes, right? And I kind of got lost in the shuffle. And I became a people pleaser, and I just wanted everybody to be happy. And it didn't matter who Celena was or her opinion. As long as everybody else was happy, it didn't matter. And that was fine for a long time, and then it wasn't. And once I figured that out, I was like, okay, it's time for me to put me first, because the only way that you can really help anyone is to pour from a full cup, not an empty cup. You have to love yourself and take the time for yourself, self-care first, and then you help others. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I'm trying to make people remember that. And part of that is, the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary life is just a little extra, and that's taking the time for yourself.
Love it. And there's so much wisdom there that we can relate to, no matter whether we're an extrovert or an introvert, because especially if we are solopreneurs or work from home, there's nobody really that tells us, all right, it's break time. Let's take this very conscious little interruption and do these things. You just flow from, your bedroom to the kitchen, to the office, and then in the evening back to the kitchen. And this is like this constant blend of work and leisure without any boundaries. And as you say, because we don't really create those little me time clips or breaks in there,
right?
Let's call them me time moments, right? Have to be
a long time
moments. You are essentially always your own slave, because you're like, well, blah, 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 I should be doing this. And then you get a bad conscience because you are maybe going for a walk. You're like, well, I've been walking for 30 minutes. I could have done this, right? And, I had a friend tell me the other day, so what if that doesn't get done? And I said, well, then, the email starts piling up. And she said, let's just let it pile up, because it's not life or death.
It's not.
But if you get sick, that's like really serious. So just the emails piled up. It is what it is. So sometimes I think about, like if you think about like you were to work at a postal office, somebody would probably process the letters somehow, because they still have to reach their destination.
Right.
And that's okay. And maybe you don't have that ability to where somebody takes your work over and processes letters or whatever. Well, they just pile up. It is what it is, and that's sometimes we have to give ourselves permission. We can be taking a day off. We don't have to constantly be connected to our phones. So how would you describe that influence came in that made you realize, okay, I have that superpower of empathy. I realize I'm struggling. I'm going into addiction, into the spiral of continuous hustling. What made you realize, and how did you come out of that?
For me, honestly, it was God. because I knew for a long time he was trying to get my attention. But honestly, I wasn't ready. Right. And, I fought tooth and nail for 49 years. And so I was turning 50 in 2023. And I said, I will start listening. Okay. I won't just hear, I will listen. Okay. And so that's what changed. From the moment I did that January 1st, everything has changed. I went to a community event, and then I went to one thing, led to another, that's led me here. And that was truly the change, the catalyst. And I changed my mindset. I went from a place of no to a place of yes. And so your mindset is so very important. And so instead of saying, Selena, do you want to go to the movies? I immediately go, no. I go, yes. How do I make that happen? It's a shift. And so that whole thing that you've always heard about gratitude journals and positive affirmations, it's all about your vibration, as hokey as it sounds. When you change that inner click, and it's like your friend said, if it's truly not life or death, then it's really not important. It's just let it be, and don't hold it so hard, right? Just flow. Don't hold everything so hard as you're trying to get it done, because that's what was happening to me recently. I was trying so hard to get this thing going. And as soon as I kind of just let it go and relax and trusted, it's fallen into place. And I believe in the synchronicities that you see. If you pay attention, they're there.
Yeah.
And I love it.
It's very, very true. I frequently see that with people that want to lose weight or get rid of, something else in their lives, or maybe back pain or something, to where your mind is so strong that if you start not focusing on the physical number on the scale changing, but you just kind of like put it to the side, and maybe you just have fun when you work out and when you eat, it will fall into place. You will reach your weight. It's just that you are not constantly thinking about it, because I truly believe if you constantly think about, let's see, do I feel lighter? Let's step on the scale again. Right. It's not going to go down. That's not how it happens. It's like nearly like the universe is like mocking you, like, you know what? Stop doing this, because you are so focused on this number that you need to just lose it, as you say. Just let go. Don't be so tight about this. Just relax, have fun.
And it's whatever anybody needs to call it to make you feel better. You can call it God, you can call it universe, the spirit. You have to surrender it to something other than yourself, because you're not going to get anywhere. And it can't be about yourself. It has to be about others first. If you make that switch to self last, ego dead, it's so much easier, because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And it's just simple after that. And anything else you get is bonus. But once you make it about that, you're just going to see it fall into place. But you got to die to ego, as they say.
Celena, how do we get in touch with you or listen to your amazing podcast? Because it certainly sounds like you have a lot of nuggets of wisdom that we all want to take advantage of. Share your contact information with us, please.
Oh, thank you. This has been so wonderful. You can reach me at the Introvert's Heart on all social media platforms. The website is the same. It's you don't have to put it's introvertsheart.com. The podcast will be linked there as well. I'm just starting, everybody, so stay tuned. But it's called This Introvert's Heart with Selena. So it'll be just talking a little bit about interviews with guests, and then some of these nuggets of wisdom I have to share.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for being here. Listeners, I hope that you got lots of motivation and that you're going to reach out to Celena with any questions. and take advantage of her wonderful nuggets of wisdom, as we both called it. Now, with that, we come to the end of our today's episode. I certainly look forward to hearing you again in the next episode. And what I'm also looking for is seeing where Celena's podcast is going. So with that, stay tuned and keep happy hustling along and stay healthy. Thank you.